absolutely phenomenal.
Strictly Come Dancing Blackpool Week, Saturday at 6:40 on BBC One and iPlayer.
Sound it again. Warning.
Tonight, Emily Sandé on how heartbreak inspired her latest album.
Alessandra Burke and Erin from our Challenge Squad will melt your heart as they prepare for their Children in Need performance.
And Matt Allwright gets to the heart of the problems with Royal Mail and Watchdog.
We'll see you at 7.
This is BBC One in the South. Now, the BBC News with Sophie Raworth and Anjana Gadgil at 6 o'clock.
At 6, the Prime Minister vows to press ahead with his plans to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, despite the UK's highest court ruling against it. Trying to stop the small boats, Rishi Sunak says he'll bring in what he describes as emergency legislation to save his Rwanda plan.
When I said I would stop the boats, I meant it. Today's judgment has not weakened my resolve, it has only hardened it.
For 18 months, this plan has been bogged down in the courts, and now it has been squashed. So the government is cobbling together a plan B. And there's one big question tonight: will that work?
Also on the programme, a sharp drop in the rate of inflation is down to 4.6%, the lowest level for 2 years. The Israeli military says soldiers are searching Gaza's main hospital. And one of the great romances of British acting, Timothy West and Prunella Scales celebrate 60 years of marriage.
In the South, the impact on tenants of no-fault evictions, leaving thousands of people with nowhere to go. And counting your 5 a day, scientists in Reading weigh up the benefits of a healthy diet.
Good evening. The Prime Minister says he will press ahead with plans to send asylum seekers to Rwanda after the highest court in the UK ruled that the government's policy was unlawful. The Supreme Court found there was a real risk that asylum seekers who were sent to Rwanda could be wrongly assessed and returned to their country of origin, where they could face persecution. But Rishi Sunak said new emergency legislation will enable Parliament to confirm Rwanda is safe and that he remained committed to stopping thousands of migrants crossing the channel in small boats every year. Labour has called the proposals a ridiculous and pathetic spectacle. Here's our political editor, Chris Mason.
The geography of power. Parliament in the background this morning. The Supreme Court in focus. Refugees cannot be returned to their countries of origin if their life and freedom would be threatened. It's known as the principle of non-refoulement, and at precisely 10 o'clock this morning, it proved crucial.
The legal test which has to be applied in this case is whether there are substantial grounds for believing that asylum seekers sent to Rwanda would be at real risk of refoulement. In the light of the evidence which I have summarised, the Court of Appeal concluded that there were such grounds. We are unanimously of the view that they were entitled to reach that conclusion. The Home Secretary's appeal is therefore dismissed.
The language of the courtroom can occasionally be barely decipherable mumbo-jumbo. Not today. So we've seen and heard the words in court, and here they are written down, and they are plain and they are simple. The government has lost. Its Rwanda plan is in tatters. The Prime Minister is growing used to political defeat. Today, legal defeat. So what on earth does he do next?
We have prepared for all outcomes of this case. And so we have been working on a new international treaty with Rwanda. This will provide a guarantee in law that those who are relocated from the UK to Rwanda will be protected against removal from Rwanda. And it will make clear that we will bring back anyone if ordered to do so by a court. We will finalise the treaty in light of today's judgment and ratify it without delay. I am also announcing today that we will take the extraordinary step of introducing emergency legislation. This will enable Parliament to confirm that with our new treaty, Rwanda is safe.
He added he was willing to confront the European Court of Human Rights.
I will not allow a foreign court to block these flights. If the Strasbourg court chooses to intervene against the expressed wishes of Parliament, I am prepared to do what is necessary to get flights off.
Labour are scathing but face tough questions themselves.
He was warned many times about the problems, and yet he still pushed ahead, still made it the central part of his plan.
Clearly dealing with this is difficult and would be difficult for you if you were in government. What in precise terms would you do?
We need a major plan to go after the criminal gangs who've been allowed to take hold along the channel. They are undermining our border security.
Clear skies at Westminster today, but there was a sulphurous mood among some Conservative MPs while they waited to hear from Rishi Sunak. When people around here say something is a confidence issue, what they really mean is they're losing confidence in the Prime Minister.
Delivering the policy of stopping the boats is a confidence issue of the British people in this government. It's certainly a confidence issue for my voters in me. By extension, therefore, it is a confidence issue for me in the Prime Minister.
The sovereignty of our country should not be in question. We should be able to control our own borders, and I find it very sad today for people who are looking for this government to deliver on that important pledge.
And so, plenty of questions for the Prime Minister. You gave your Home Secretary the heave-ho on Monday. The court has shredded your Rwanda plan today. It's a total shambles, isn't it?
We've returned 20,000 people. We've made thousands of arrests, all while the numbers in Europe are getting worse. So that actually shows that when I said we would stop the boats when I made that speech in January, we are delivering. We're making strong progress. But in order to finish the job, in order to get the job done, we need the Rwanda deterrent to work.
Refugee rights are human rights!
Rishi Sunak is still hoping to get migrants on planes to Rwanda by the spring. That looks like a big ask tonight. Chris Mason, BBC News at Westminster.
So the Prime Minister says his commitment to stopping the boats is unwavering. Our home editor Mark Easton looks at the implications of today's judgment and what the government might do next.
How to stop the boats is by far the most pressing question for the Home Office. Until this morning, the answer had been Rwanda. Sources say there was a collective sense of shock at the department when the Supreme Court decision came through.
The court is not concerned with the political debate about the policy.
Well, that says maybe, but today's court judgment implies that from the Prime Minister down, the UK continued to claim Rwanda was a completely safe country for refugees when there was ample and compelling evidence it was not.
British police have had to warn Rwandan nationals living in the UK of credible plans by the Rwandan government to kill them. In 2021, the UK government criticised the Rwandan government for extrajudicial killings, deaths in custody, enforced disappearances and torture.
Even after Priti Patel, the former Home Secretary, signed the deal with the Rwandan government in April last year, Rwanda was sending refugees back to the country they'd fled from at risk of torture and death. A clear human rights breach, the judgment suggests, under the noses of British ministers.
That's based on a very careful consideration of the evidence that the Secretary of State and the government has and has had for several months.
One of the asylum seekers involved in today's case told me of his profound relief that he won't be sent to Rwanda in the foreseeable future.
What would you like to say to the judges who made the decision today?
I thank them from the bottom of my heart. It's the right decision to make, and they treated us with humanity.
So how can the government stop the boats now? Without the option of packing migrants off to Rwanda, the Home Office's plan in its flagship Illegal Migration Act simply won't work.
The courts agree the principle of sending asylum seekers to a safe third country, well, that is lawful. But there'll be no flights of migrants to Rwanda anytime soon, nor anywhere else. The Prime Minister's promised new legislation, wants a new improved treaty with Rwanda, but the Supreme Court judgment warns that whatever intentions and aspirations Rwanda makes, the question is whether they are achievable in practice.
The new Home Secretary, just 3 days into the job and charged by the PM to stop the boats, doesn't appear to have a plan B that can achieve any kind of result before the country delivers its verdict on the government at an election. Mark Easton, BBC News.
Let's go back to Chris Mason at Westminster. So is this Rwanda plan dead in the water, or can the Prime Minister really rescue it?
Well, right now it is an almighty mess, and today is a reminder of two fundamentals. One, the division of power within our democracy, the power of the courts and the rule of law, and then the power of Parliament, those who make the law, and the tensions that can exist between the two. And then there's another fundamental, the challenge for so many richer countries about how they deal with this contemporary looming question around international migration. And it's clearly difficult to come up with workable answers. But the critique that is made of the government, both by former members of it as well as opposition parties, is that they have made it more difficult by the path that they have chosen. And now they are presenting this plan B in the hope of finding a way through. And they say, the Prime Minister says, he's willing to pick fights. He's willing to pick fights because he thinks that around the country there are people who want him to do it, and he knows that there are Conservative MPs who demand that he does it. But the challenge for him is that it isn't going to be easy, because there is every prospect that he attempts this emergency legislation and this treaty, and that it gets bogged down again, potentially, in the courts, and that it takes time in Parliament. He says he still reckons he can get migrants on planes to Rwanda by the spring. I think it's a fair question to ask about whether it will actually happen before the next general election. And that means this whole issue will be a question within the Conservative Party and across Parliament and in the country in the months counting down to polling day.
Chris Mason, thank you. Inflation fell sharply in October to its lowest rate for 2 years, largely due to lower energy prices. You can see here how the rate of inflation has come down since October last year, when it was 11.1%. It went right down to 4.6% last month. Well, Rishi Sunak said he'd delivered on his pledge to halve the rate of inflation. Labour said it wasn't the time for the government to be popping champagne corks. Here's our economics editor, Faisal Islam.
At high tide, from the high seas, lower inflation. A tanker full of natural gas, frozen and compressed into liquid form, travelling 6,000 miles from Peru. A third of the UK's entire supply comes through the estuary at Milford Haven in this way. The lower world price of gas delivered here in West Wales now filtering across the country. And while the headline inflation numbers are down sharply, at the local food bank project, they're stocking up for a tough winter.
The energy cost has come down, but we're not seeing our demand getting any less. I think people maybe are playing catch up with the bills that they maybe sort of shelved or paid, a bit less off whatever they're paying off. But I think fundamentally, I don't think much has changed for people on low incomes now.
Over at the Hake Inn Chippy, pricey haddock is off the menu. While some food prices and energy prices are down, they're still well above levels 2 years ago.
It's just really hard. We're getting by, to be honest, and good job we use our own potatoes that we grow with a really good...
So that keeps the prices down?
Yeah, because we can sell them quite cheaper then that way.
At Milford Haven Marina, they're yet to feel a substantial change to bills.
A lot of things have gone up, car insurance, the council tax. We're going through a lot more gas and electricity, even though we're trying to use less.
We're reducing the amount of time that we might have the heat on, if we put it on at all.
A seventh of all of Britain's petrol, diesel and airline fuel is also refined here on this coast from imports of crude oil.
The massive global energy shock that hit the UK economy over the past couple of years is now on the turn. You can see it here in the giant ships of gas from the Americas that fuel people's homes and the power stations up the coast, in the tankers of crude oil being turned into petrol. Inflation is now sharply lower, but it isn't yet low and there are still concerns about the inflationary pressures generated here in the UK, not from around the world.
There's lots more work to do. We still have to bring inflation down to its target level of 2%, but now we are beginning to win the battle against inflation. We can move to the next part of our economic plan, which is the long-term growth of the British economy.
Well, of course it's welcome that inflation has come down from record highs, but the truth is, during the course of this Parliament, the cost of living crisis has hit hard for working families.
The government says it's delivered on the PM's promise to halve inflation, but actual deliveries of cheaper gas from afar at places like this are the biggest reason. Inflation in general not defeated yet. Faisal Islam, BBC News in Milford Haven.
Two 12-year-old boys have been arrested on suspicion of murder after a 19-year-old was stabbed to death in Wolverhampton. Sean Sisahai died on Monday evening. Our correspondent Phil Mackey is in Wolverhampton for us now. Phil.
Yes, Sophie, so less than 48 hours ago this happened. A short distance down there, it's cordoned off at the moment, as you can see, is a grassed area where youngsters hang out and play. There's a football pitch and a basketball courts as well. At around 8:30 on Monday night, residents say that this road suddenly filled up with emergency vehicles. There were police cars and ambulances, paramedics. They did all they could to try to save Sean Sisahai, but unfortunately his injuries were so severe that they couldn't save him. You can probably just see where those two police officers are at the moment. That's roughly where the blue forensics tent stands, where Sean died. Yesterday evening, two 12-year-old boys were arrested on suspicion of murder. They're still in custody and are being questioned by police officers. Today we've seen foot patrols in this area. That's for reassurance. And as you can see, the area remains a scene of crime. And locals say that they have children who are in this area and they can't believe what happened on their doorstep. Sophie.
Phil, thank you. The time is just after 6:15. Our top story this evening. The Prime Minister vows to press ahead with his plans to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, despite the UK's highest court ruling against it. And coming up, the weight loss kits being sold on the black market. We talked to some of those affected.
And coming up on South Today at 6:30. Driving diversity on the track, a master's in motorsport engineering backed by Sir Lewis Hamilton.
Get it!
And a girl's best friend, how children in need is helping children like Carmela.
Israel says it is carrying out a precise and targeted operation against Hamas inside Gaza's largest hospital after storming the complex overnight. Israel says Hamas, which is designated as a terrorist organisation by the UK, is running a command centre in tunnels under Al-Shifa Hospital. Hamas denies this and says the raid on the hospital is a war crime. More than 100 Israeli soldiers are said to be searching the complex. The Israeli army says 5 Hamas gunmen were killed in a firefight outside as soldiers supported by tanks entered the complex. Well, Ola Girin has just sent this report from Jerusalem, and you may find some of it distressing.
Armed Israeli troops in the grounds of Gaza's largest hospital. Israel released this footage of its soldiers bringing supplies into Al-Shifa, an image it wants to show. This hospital is at the heart of a propaganda war. One doctor trapped inside told me rather than bringing help, Israel should stop killing Palestinians.
They are killing us. We don't want anything from them. If it's me, if it's my decision, I won't take that aid from them. They have killed us continuously for the last 40 days, and now they want to give me some dressing, some saline. Let them stop killing us, and that's it.
The Hamas-run health ministry released its own video showing a very different picture, with choking dust filling the corridors. Doctors say this is the aftermath of an Israeli strike. A hole is clearly visible, medical equipment in disarray. We are trying to save this girl by giving her oxygen manually, says one doctor, reduced to treating his patients in the corridor. Israel says the patients aren't the targets.
Israel is at war with Hamas, not with the civilians in Gaza. The IDF forces include medical teams and Arabic speakers who have undergone specified training to prepare for this complex and sensitive environment, with the intent that no harm is caused to the civilians being used by Hamas as human shields.
But doctors say civilians here have been badly harmed already by a lack of power, oxygen, even water. Yesterday, some had emergency surgery without a full anaesthetic. And the most fragile are most at risk. These premature babies packed together for warmth. Doctors tell us 6 have already died. Israel says Hamas operates below ground at Al-Shifa, hiding behind the innocent, and Washington agrees. So far, there's no proof, and lives are hanging in the balance. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Jerusalem.
So what more do we know about Israel forces inside Al-Shifa hospital in Gaza City? Israel says Hamas has headquarters in the tunnels beneath it, which they deny. Caroline Hawley has been working with BBC Verify and is here now. Caroline.
Al-Shifa is the main hospital in the Gaza Strip, a huge complex with specialist departments. Its emergency department has only just been upgraded, with the Red Cross, which was involved in the work, saying it would support dedicated health workers to save lives for years to come. But Al-Shifa is fast becoming a symbol of this war, with all its suffering, claims and counterclaims, and a microcosm of how it's being waged. BBC Verify has been trying to find out what's really happening on the ground. Now, this satellite image shows how Israeli forces have been closing in on the hospital. On Saturday the 11th, you can see them. They're about 600 metres away. And then this is from yesterday. Here's the hospital. Up here and down there are Israeli troops, only about 300 metres away. And then last night, the Israeli forces moved into the hospital itself, where they say Hamas has a command centre underground. Hamas has always denied this, but the US says it has its own intelligence that the hospital has been used by Hamas as what it called a command and control node, which it says is a war crime. It's not released its evidence. Let's have a look now at an animation released by the Israeli army last month. It claims that there are tunnels beneath the complex and rooms. Today, an Israeli military official said its troops had found weapons and what they called terror infrastructure, but they've not so far shown any evidence of tunnels. Today, the Israeli army has released these images of troops inside the Al-Shifa complex. It says they're providing incubators, baby food and medical supplies. The hospital, though, says it doesn't need incubators, it needs fuel to run existing ones. And the World Health Organization said today it had lost touch again with hospital staff and was extremely worried for their safety and the safety of all the hospital's patients. Sophie.
Caroline, thank you. Well, here, Sir Keir Starmer is facing potential trouble from some Labour MPs tonight over the party's position on the Israel-Gaza war. Several are expected to back a Commons motion from the Scottish National Party calling for an immediate ceasefire in the conflict. Labour has ordered its MPs to abstain on the SNP's motion, meaning frontbenchers must resign or face the sack if they support it. Well, Hannah Miller is at Westminster for us now. How serious could this be for Labour?
Keir Starmer is pretty much guaranteed a rebellion tonight. The question really is how big that is. We've been hearing some pretty impassioned speeches in the House of Commons, including from frontbenchers like Naz Shah and Helen Hayes, who both described voting for a ceasefire as a matter of conscience. There's also Afzal Khan, another frontbencher. He said, "My constituents demand it and we must vote for it." Now, the Labour leadership's position is that any frontbenchers who do vote for a ceasefire tonight will have to resign their frontbench roles. They believe that that's important in order to show that the party is disciplined and serious about getting into power. Keir Starmer has tried to provide his MPs with something to unite behind, this motion which goes further than he has before, calling for longer pauses to the conflict to allow humanitarian aid in. But it doesn't call for a ceasefire. He knows that there are many, some within his own party, many people particularly especially in the Jewish community, who believe that a ceasefire would be completely the wrong thing. And that is arguably the biggest test that his leadership faces, whether he can unite the deeply held feelings on either side of this debate, not just among his own MPs, but among voters as well.
Anna Miller, thank you. A BBC investigation has found a booming black market in the sale of weight loss kits on social media. Unregulated sellers were found to be offering semaglutide that helps tackle obesity as a medicine without prescription. Doctors have warned that taking these drugs without medical supervision is dangerous. Our health reporter, Aoife Walsh, has the details.
I was extremely ill, I was retching, and there was nothing left anymore. All my stomach acids had been thrown up, blood, white foam, horrendous.
Maddie ended up in A&E after taking a knockoff weight loss drug she bought online. The diabetes drug Ozempic, which has semaglutide as its active ingredient, made headlines last year for being Hollywood's secret weight loss drug, causing demand to spiral.
My friend recommended this Instagram account where she got these weight loss injections from. So that's where the Lip King came in.
Right guys, so this is your mixing video for your semaglutide. This is your actual supplements. This is what you're going to be mixing.
The nausea, even when the vomiting stopped after I'd been given the drip and the anti-sickness, it continued for another 7 to 8 days after.
This, is quite shocking, to be honest, that Maddie has no idea what she's taking, even if it is semaglutide. We don't know what the dose of that is.
As pharmacies across the UK struggled to keep these medicines on the shelves, an illicit black market selling knockoff versions of the drugs began to flourish. Medics have warned of the potential risks of people accidentally taking too much, especially if they are following incorrect instructions, which is what happened to Maddie.
Your second week, you want to do 30 units. Your first week, 20 units. Second week, 30.
It's completely the wrong advice, and these medications need to be prescribed by healthcare professionals.
Under UK law, you need a prescription to get this medicine. The UK's drug regulator, the MHRA, said purchasing from illegal suppliers means there are no safeguards to ensure products meet our quality and safety standards, and taking such medicines may put your health at risk. We put our allegations several times to Jordan Park, aka the Lip King, but we've had no reply.
Right, good luck guys, happy weight loss!
Despite warnings from health officials, this booming black market will continue to thrive, putting the public at risk until proper action is taken. Aoife Walsh, BBC News.
And you can see more on that story in a new BBC Three documentary. It's on the iPlayer and it is called The Skinny Jab Uncovered. Two of the best-known names in British acting, Prunella Scales and Timothy West, have just celebrated 60 years of marriage. Timothy West has written a book about their story from when they first met more than 60 years ago to living with Prunella after she was diagnosed with vascular dementia. Colin Patterson has been to meet them.
60 years of showbiz marriage.
How long?
60 years.
60 years?
It hasn't really been hard work, has it?
No. He's a person I love. I enjoy being with.
That's about it, I think. Prunella Scales is best known as Sybil in Fawlty Towers.
Basil, there's a kipper sticking out of your jumper.
Timothy West is regarded as one of the best stage actors of his generation.
What means your graces? Could my friends consider you are my guests?
First thing you can see as you come round the bend. Right. And together they had an unexpected hit with Great Canal Journeys.
Yes.
But for the last 20 years, meaning for almost a third of their marriage, Prunella Scales has had vascular dementia. We went to see a specialist who just said, oh, I'm sorry, this is just something that happens to you when you get older, and it's not going to get any easier, but you can cope with it. We manage. Timothy West decided that the year of their diamond wedding anniversary was the perfect time to write Prue and Me, a love story, which doesn't shy away from talking about dementia, but understandably mainly focuses on the fun.
How does it feel to have been married 60 years?
How does it feel to you?
Well, I don't know. What am I supposed to say? Thank you.
Oh, well, thank
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for sticking me for so long.
Well, we've done all right, yeah.
Colin Patterson, BBC News.
Time for a look at the weather now. Sarah Keith Lucas, hello.
Hi, Sophie. Well, we've had a bit more rain today, particularly across Scotland and northern England too. Some of us, though, further south had a bit of sunshine, so a respite, a window of drier weather. The beautiful autumn colours here in Bath a little bit earlier on. Now, through the day tomorrow, some more sunny spells, but they'll be mainly across the northeast of the UK because we've got more cloud and rain that's going to be arriving from the south and the southwest too. Rest of this evening and tonight, then we've still got quite a lot of cloud lingering across parts of Scotland, northern England, a few splashes of rain coming out of that, but it's easing. And then all eyes to the southwest as the next batch of wet and windy weather arrives, particularly during the second half of tonight. But quite a cold night out there for many of us, temperatures 3 or 4 degrees, but particularly across parts of Scotland, maybe -4, -5. So some frost and some fog patches as we head through tomorrow morning. But let's cast our eyes down towards this area of low pressure. It's been named Storm Frederico by the French Met Office, Météo France. So the worst of the strong winds will be down across France, but we could see 50-mile-per-hour gusts, even a bit more than that for the Isles of Scilly, the Channel Isles. A lot of wet weather across much of southern England, all the way from Kent towards Somerset into South Wales too. Further north, though, a bit of a drier picture. We have got some showers that are going to be drifting around eastern coasts, and then the next batch of rain works in from the west across Northern Ireland later on in the day. Best of the sunshine, I think, tomorrow will be across parts of Scotland once any lingering freezing fog clears away. Not particularly warm. We're looking at highs around about 6 to 11 degrees for most of us. Heading through Thursday night into Friday, a ridge of higher pressure builds in. So I think that's going to bring a bit of a quieter day for Friday for many of us. Bit of sunshine, still not particularly warm. Again, some mist and some fog that should clear away. Sophie.
Sarah, thank you. And that is it from us. It's time now for the news teams where you are. Goodbye.
Thank you, Sophie. Coming up on tonight's South Today. The impact on tenants of no-fault evictions, leaving thousands of people with nowhere to go.
I'm going to be made homeless with my 4 kids and I cannot find somewhere to move into. I feel like I'm failing my children and that's really hard.
Housing charities say these kinds of forced evictions are now the leading cause of homelessness. Also in tonight's programme. Counting your 5 a day, scientists in Reading weigh up the benefits of a healthy diet. Driving diversity on the track, a master's in motorsport engineering, backed by Sir Lewis Hamilton.
What a stunning day we've had today, but tomorrow it's all changed with some heavy rain and gusty winds.
Good evening, I'm Anjana Gadgil. Welcome to South Today. First tonight, the growing problem of no-fault evictions. They're known as a Section 21, and thousands of people are being made homeless because of them. It's where a landlord can force a tenant out of their property, even if the renter has done nothing wrong. With many landlords facing higher mortgage costs, some are offloading their stock. But that's having a real impact on tenants, with local authorities seeing huge increases in people coming to them in need of emergency accommodation. Between July and September this year, more than 8,000 Section 21s were issued in England. That's a 38% rise for these types of cases, believed now to be the largest cause of homelessness. Of course, behind every case is a human being. One of them is mum of 4, Christy. Our reporter Jo Palmer has been hearing her story.
Stress-wise, it's been horrific. You know, I feel like I am going to be made homeless. You know, that's the situation. I'm going to be made homeless with my 4 kids and I cannot find somewhere to move into.
Christy works full-time and has privately rented for 3 years. In June, she was given a Section 21 notice. By law, this means her landlord can ask her to leave without giving an explanation. It's called a no-fault eviction. But finding somewhere else to rent near Petersfield has proved impossible.
Everything I've seen, I get rejected from. It's really affecting me personally, my mental health. I don't sleep well. I try and be calm and happy, and but really, I just don't see an answer. I've gone to view properties that have come online the day before, called up the next day, and they're fully booked. It's just there's no in. And then I felt like when I did get an in, when I did get a viewing, automatically it was like they said no, it won't be for her.
Why do you think they said that?
I think because I'm a single parent, because I'm moving in on my own with 4 kids. They don't want that.
Many landlords are pursuing no-fault evictions because of increases to interest rates on their buy-to-let mortgages.
They've gone from a very, very low interest rate to double, sometimes trebled. So I know a few landlords that are actually topping up, the monthly payment for their mortgage for the people living in there. And so when it costs the landlord for someone to live in their property, it's not a good investment.
Section 21 notices are the biggest factor driving people like Christy to seek help from their local authority. But some councils won't step in until the bailiffs are at the door. This means weeks of uncertainty coupled with stressful court appearances.
The judge will be telling me when I need to be evicted from the house, that bailiffs will be there. I do not have legal representation. And the Section 21 is no fault to tenant. I've continued to pay my rent and will do so until I am out of the property. But it's really scary. It's really, really scary because I could go there and they could say, right, you've got 1 week. Where do I go?
The government has said it plans to abolish Section 21s, but the National Residential Landlords Association believe the no-fault element can sometimes be useful to tenants.
In many cases, it also supports a tenant that might have rent arrears and have debt built up. And by using a Section 21, you're not allocating debt and negativity towards that person moving forward. So when they get a new tenancy, they won't have that negative non-payment of rent set against their name.
Christy continues to do everything she can and is in regular contact with her local authority.
And I'm told there's nothing. There's nothing, that they have nothing in my area, they have nothing outside of my area. One of the places they said I could possibly housed is over an hour and a half from where I currently live, from where my children go to school.
This means Christy may have to leave her job. The personal impact on her and thousands of others across the south is enormous.
It's horrendous. It's horrendous. I feel like I'm failing my children, and that's really hard.
An emotional Christy ending that report by Joe Palmer, and thank you for telling us your story. A little earlier, I spoke to Jenny Lamb, who's the policy officer for the housing charity Shelter. I asked her how big a part Section 21 evictions played in overall homelessness rates.
It's a really serious issue. 1 in 10 private renters are now at risk of losing their homes. That equates to 814,000 adults, and that figure rises to 1.1 million at an estimate if you include children as well. Losing a private tenancy is now the #1 cause of homelessness in this country, and the no-fault evictions, Section 21 evictions, are contributing to a lot of that. So it's a really serious issue.
The Renters Reform Bill is designed to help renters facing these issues. It hasn't yet become law, but what changes will it bring in?
The first thing that the Renters Reform Bill will do is scrap Section 21 eviction notices. This doesn't mean a landlord won't be able to evict a tenant, but they have to follow the new rules, which means they have to give a reason to do so. People will have more security to challenge their landlord on poor conditions or a rent increase, for example. The second thing we're really hoping that the Renters Reform Bill will do is stamp out discrimination in the private rented sector. Families with children and people who claim benefits really struggle to find a landlord who will let to them. And technically this is unlawful, but it's quite difficult to prove. And we're hoping that by making this directly illegal, landlords would be dissuaded from discriminating against people in this way. So the Renters Reform Bill does have the potential to be a game changer for private renters in this country.
And Jenny, let's look at solutions. What help is there out there for tenants facing this situation?
The first thing I would recommend is that you get advice. You can speak to Shelter, you can call our helpline or use our web chat function, and someone will be able to give you tailored advice that fits your circumstances. I would recommend that if you are on benefits, check your benefits entitlement, because it could be that you're not claiming something that you're entitled to, which could make it easier for you to prove you can afford the rent. The next thing I would say is if you're going to be homeless within 56 days, you can approach your local authority and they have a duty to try and prevent you becoming homeless in the first place. You might want to find someone to advocate for you, because it is useful to know your rights and to be able to hold the council to account, make sure you get the help that you need.
Jenny Lamb, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And details of organisations offering information and support with hardship, debt or homelessness are available at bbc.co.uk/action line, or you can call for free at any time to hear recorded information on 08000 159 774. Let's have a look at some of the rest of the day's news. The Chief Executive of Bournemouth, Christchurch and Poole Council says using ID at the polls during elections adds another layer of difficulty for voters. Graham Farrant's been responding to questions in the House of Lords while a short inquiry is carried out into the impact of the introduction of the new rule. The committee is looking to find if any lessons can be learned ahead of the next local elections in May 2024 and the forthcoming general election.
So my councillors, we had a debate at the full council meeting last week. Councillors believe that there was a significant reduction in turnout as a result of the voter ID requirement. The voter ID, I would say, just added another layer of difficulty, if you like, or of challenge. A few challenges around forms of ID and the knowledge and awareness, which clearly is a challenge for everybody in terms of knowing what they've got to bring.
The company building a long-delayed fleet of trains for South Western Railway has put more than 1,300 jobs at risk, more than half its UK factory workforce. Alstom is building the Arterio trains in Derby, but it has no confirmed workload once the order for 90 trains is complete next spring. The trains were due in service on routes in Berkshire 4 years ago, but haven't carried a single passenger. The UK's largest train factory also built most of the rolling stock used by Southern Railway. Homes and businesses on the Isle of Wight affected by recent floods can now apply for government-funded financial support. It's available through the council, including a £500 grant available to homes that suffered internal damage or for people unable to live in their homes as a direct result of Storm Babette last month. Businesses are eligible for up to £2,500. Plans to reopen Swindon's Oasis Leisure Centre will be discussed by councillors this evening. It's understood that the idea to build a ski centre next door has been scrapped. Instead, that land will be sold to developers to raise the funds for the Oasis improvements. You're watching BBC South Today. It's great to have you with us this evening. Still to come.
Get it!
A girl's best friend, how children in need is helping children like Carmela carry out day-to-day tasks.
And with my socks, because I can't bend down to reach them, she can just take them off for me. And when I'm sad and low, we can just have a good snuggle together, can't we?
Now, we all know eating more fresh fruit and veg like this is a good idea, but how much difference does it really make to our health? Scientists from the University of Reading are hoping to find out by giving people on lower incomes vouchers towards their weekly food shopping. In return, every 3 months, they'll give hair and urine samples to help measure any impact of changes to their diet. And as Alan Sinclair reports, the results could nudge policymakers towards offering more widespread support.
When money's tight, those on the lowest incomes often opt for cheap, bulky foods like bread and pasta.
I don't want to be greedy.
Filling bellies but short on essential nutrients for good health. Now, a scientific study is giving out vouchers, £10 every 2 weeks for a year, specifically to enable those involved to buy more fresh fruit and veg.
I couldn't afford to buy fruit and veg all the time. So coming here and being able to get that fruit and veg is a godsend, an absolute godsend. As I say, I'd go without otherwise.
We identified 150 households, so 2 or 3 streets locally where there's a great need, and they've been given vouchers for the next 12 months. It's not about telling people what they should be eating. Everybody knows 5 fruit and veg a day is good for you. They know that, they just can't afford it. And this way we'll make that big difference, and we'll monitor with our colleagues at the university the impact on people's health.
I will be more inclined to cook every day because I've got fresh vegetables there, whereas at the moment I don't cook a couple of times a week for me.
And this is where experts hope to prove the difference good food makes to people's health. The University of Reading's study's been funded by government. They'll analyse hair and urine samples collected every 3 months from those involved and compare them to others from the community who haven't had the vouchers.
We can look at things like polyphenols, which are often the colourful pigments in fruits and vegetables. We can look at sugars and salts. And then as we do the intervention with the food vouchers, hopefully we'll see that people are increasingly eating more fruit and vegetables and generally eating healthier.
I hope it opens up the eyes, to realise the real benefits of fruit and veg. I think the science will back that up, and the families will see health benefits, like energy levels, that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm excited to be part of it.
All involved hope their findings will provide clear data and persuade policymakers and politicians to put more public money where their mouth is. Alan Sinclair, BBC South Today.
I don't think I've had my 5 a day. I'll have to eat some broccoli tonight, I think. Now, let's get the sport with Lewis Coombs. Now, you're talking about Sir Lewis Hamilton. What's he been up to, Lewis?
He's up to some great things, absolutely, yeah. Sir Lewis Hamilton has blazed a trail through motorsport, not only becoming a 7-time world champion, of course, but now a leader in championing greater diversity. A recently commissioned report highlights that the proportion of black people in Formula One is less than 1%, and people from minority ethnic backgrounds represent just 9% of engineering apprenticeships. And for those that do graduate, black engineers are twice as likely to be unemployed than their white counterparts. And it's for this reason that a charity founded by Sir Lewis Hamilton has launched a motorsport scholarship. 2 students at Oxford Brookes University are among the first 5 in the country to start their masters in motorsport engineering. Catherine da Costa has been to meet them.
Then up here, this box in this car.
A Formula student racing car designed and built at Oxford Brookes University to compete at Silverstone. Something these F1 superfans are keen to collaborate on. Both have big aspirations for the future.
I hope to be in one of the Formula One teams, I think. I hope to be trackside and sort of having a direct impact on the race car and the outcome.
It's a really competitive industry, but there's no better place than Oxford Brookes to study to get there. And even working in the racing team here, it's a really intense environment, and it's the type of thing that can prepare me to get to F1.
They've come to the right place. While Oxford sits in the heart of Motorsport Valley, the Master's course in Motorsport Engineering is designed to teach students how to set up a car to achieve maximum performance.
It's really hardcore chartered engineer level mechanical engineering, but every time we talk about physics, we talk about racing car, we're talking about suspension, dampers, we're talking about chassis, vehicle dynamics.
Amjad and Jonathan are among the first of 5 students to receive a fully funded scholarship, thanks to Lewis Hamilton's charity Mission 44, aimed at boosting diversity within the industry.
Lewis launched the Hamilton Commission back in 2020 to look at how he could play a role in boosting diversity within motorsport, and particularly the diversity of black people within the sport. Only 1% of people in the sport are from black backgrounds, and so as a result a number of recommendations came out of the commission. Mission 44 is Sir Lewis's charitable foundation, has taken the lead in driving progress.
Sir Lewis Hamilton has been hugely influential in the world of Formula One. He holds 7 World Drivers' Championship titles, a record he shares with Michael Schumacher, as well as records for the most wins, pole positions and podium finishes.
For me, it means so much that I'm part of the scholarship because, seeing him be sort of the exception, someone that looks like me, dominate a sport like that, it kind of just inspires me, and I feel like the scholarship will give me the opportunity to inspire people sort of my age and below.
He was someone that you could look up to as he's young, but he's making a difference in an area he wants to succeed in. And it being an area I want to succeed in, I can take those same values and kind of be aggressive and positively go towards the goals I want to achieve.
The second round of applications for the Motorsport Scholarship closes in March next year. Catherine Da Costa, BBC South Today.
On to football now. Non-league Horsham's excellent run in the FA Cup has come to an end. In front of a record 3,000 strong crowd, the Hornets lost 3-0 to League One Barnsley in their first round replay, having drawn the first tie 3-3, of course. But with 100 places between the two clubs in the Football League ladder, it's been a cup run to remember for the West Sussex side.
I'm really proud of the boys. I think they went toe-to-toe with a team, and they didn't cave in. When you're 3-0 down after, quite early in a game, it could become a bit of a landslide. I thought we acquitted ourselves well, and I think second half we showed that we're a good football team. And I couldn't be prouder of the boys, to be honest.
Yeah, staying with football, and Reading are through to the knockout stages of the Football League Trophy after a convincing 5-2 victory over Arsenal's under-21s last night. 3 wins from 3 sees the Royals top their group with a perfect record, scoring 19 goals in the process. Now, this is Berkshire's Mallory Franklin, and she's off to her second Olympics after Team GB named their canoe squad for Paris today. Having won a silver medal at the Tokyo Games and multiple world and European titles, Mallory is Great Britain's most successful female canoeist of all time, most recently winning world gold on home waters, and she'll now compete in the C1 and kayak cross events next summer.
I think that there's definitely good signs. Obviously coming off of winning the Worlds as well, and being world champion into the Games is also really cool, but canoeing is canoeing, and there's a lot that can happen, and it's all about how you deal in those split-second moments on the river. And I think for me, I just want to get out there and try and enjoy it and just try and perform kind of like I did in Tokyo, just for me, and just go canoeing and try and enjoy the experience around it.
Of course, that's such great news for Mallory, having won a silver last time around, being in really good form, winning gold medals at world level, maybe a gold in Paris. It's come around quickly, isn't it?
It does feel like every week now we're talking about Paralympic hopefuls and Olympic hopefuls.
Yeah.
It's getting really close.
So exciting.
Very exciting indeed. Now, Friday is Children in Need Day, and throughout the week we're looking at some of the amazing things happening here in the South.
Yeah, of course, it's all made possible because of your generosity. In Dorset, the charity Helpful Hounds provides training sessions for children with assistance dogs.
You know, Pudsy's right behind you there.
Yeah,
Liz,
what a guy. Can't get closer now.
The dogs can help with practical tasks as well as being a best friend and companion. Simon Marks can tell us more.
Carmela lives in Wiltshire. She has muscular dystrophy, which restricts her movement. But fortunately, she has a friend to help.
Get it! Good girl! Open! When I was young, without Tinker, I felt moody, sad, alone, and I just generally didn't feel very good. But with Tinker now, she makes me feel happy, excited, and definitely makes me laugh. When I'm at hospitals and feeling nervous, she sits on my lap and it basically keeps me calm.
Carmela's 9. We've been told when she reaches teenage years, she will get weaker. We know what teenagers are like. They don't want their mum to get involved with too many things. So having Tinker, being able to do certain things for Carmela will be a huge, huge help for me so I don't get my head bitten off.
Sometimes I can't take my jacket off because my elbows get in the way. But she can help me pull it off. Drop. Good girl. And with my socks, because I can't bend down to reach them, she can just take them off for me. You just get it. And when I'm sad and low, we can just have a good snuggle together, can't we? A good snuggle and a stroke. Yes.
She doesn't always want to share things with her mummy and daddy. And you know, as yourself, you know, pets, if you're a pet owner, they're endless and unconditional love. It takes her mind off her condition.
Tinker was trained by a Dorset-based charity called Helpful Hounds.
OK, throw a treat out for her.
Izzy has a complex diagnosis of conditions which include autism and ADHD. She's been out of education for 18 months. Jessie is her assistant's dog.
Let's walk. Good girl, well done.
See, like there's a noise, she'll help me and she'll make me feel calmer, and I'll hold her lead and we'll go to parks and she'll run around with me, have a really fun time.
She's a focus point for Izzy, so once Izzy's out and about and things become overwhelming, Jessie's there for her, which helps her be able to reduce her anxiety.
Very important. My best friend. Look at that. Good girl, rest. Mwah.
Having a dog is rewarding within itself, but to have a dog that can be your best mate and your play friend and then help you outside in social circumstances is everything. Bring her round. The relationship and the bond between the person that we're working with and the dog has to be really quite solid. We want to make sure that the dogs are able to keep the children that we work with feeling happy, content and grounded. Let's go a little bit faster.
The money that Helpful Hands receives from children in need enables them to run these training sessions.
Well done. It's hard work, and children in need in particular has been fundamental to our help over the years, so, keep supporting it. It really helps us.
Izzy does have trouble bonding with people, and with Vicky, they've just got each other very, very quickly, so she's been absolutely fantastic. Helpful Hands have been there all the way.
Good girl.
Money donated to children in need is making this happen. Helping young people to lead better lives, side by side with four-legged friends like Tinker.
It's great to see the relationship between the children and their dogs.
Yeah, so nice, beautiful.
Absolutely lovely. And of course, you can see the big fundraising programme for children in need after South Today on Friday at 7 p.m. So just start watching us and stay with it. Stay with BBC One. Now, should we get the weather?
Yeah, let's do it.
Alexis is here. Nice and sunny today, but I think you're about to tell us about rain.
Yes, unfortunately. What a beautiful day we had today. This squirrel eating its lunch earlier on today, and this lovely landscape shot with the autumn leaves was photographed in Abingdon by Becca Collicott. So through the course of today, we've had lots of sunshine, but we are expecting some rain as we head through tonight, and there is a Met Office warning for that. I'll talk about that in just a second. So tomorrow, the heavy rain will move in, gusty winds in particular along the coast with that area of low pressure. Here's the warning area, the rain warning area. That's valid from midnight tonight up until 6 o'clock tomorrow evening. Now, in this warning area, the low pressure, has been named by Meteo France as Federico, that area of low pressure moving in, bringing us the rain and the gusty winds. So the rain will arrive during the second part of the night. Initially, it's clear for northern and eastern areas, increasing cloud from the southwest, the arrival of that heavy rain during the early hours of the morning. Cool for some, away from the rain, lows of 3 or 4 Celsius for northern areas, but along the coast, temperatures starting to rise with the arrival of the rain and lows of 9 Celsius. So the rain could be quite heavy where it starts to push its way in, moving around that area of low pressure. The centre of the low pressure is actually in the channel, and we all see the rain start to clear away, but it could cause localised flooding where the ground is already very saturated. Temperatures tomorrow will peak around 7 to 11 Celsius. The rain gradually turning more patchier as we head through tomorrow evening and tomorrow night. So for the coastal forecast, the winds are starting to change direction. They are northerly, backing northwesterly 4 to 6, backing westerly 3 or 4, and the visibility is good, moderate or good, occasionally poor. So through the course of tomorrow night, further rain is a possibility. Another weather front starts to move in, adding to the high rainfall totals already. That starts to clear away. Clearer skies develop in places, and temperatures will fall between 3 and 9 Celsius. So we're expecting a dry start to Friday. In fact, a window between weather fronts or low pressure systems. Friday's a mainly dry day with some decent spells of sunshine. This next weather front will start pushing in as we head through Friday night into the early hours of Saturday morning, bringing some heavy rain and pretty gusty winds. So here's the outlook for the rest of the week. We are looking at some heavy rain tomorrow. That Met Office warning is in force through the morning tomorrow up until 6 o'clock in the evening. Sunny spells as we head through Friday, turning wet and windy into the weekend. If you'd like to become a weather watch, you can log on to this website, bbc.co.uk/weather watchers. And Anjana.
Alexis, thank you very much. I must say I prefer the sunny spells. I don't like the rain quite so much.
Exactly.
Now, you may have noticed we've got this rather nice new set. We certainly like it.
Swanky. Brilliant, yeah,
It's
very
been
nice.
really good, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And we hope you do too. John Carthill will be here tonight with the Late Bulletin at 10:30, and all three of us back here tomorrow.
Yeah.
Same time, same place, same studio. So I hope you can join us then. Thanks for watching.
Good night.
Good night.
Favorite kind of newscast moment is when you sort of have a